Look at this aerial view of an automated intermodal shipping port operating at full capacity. Every container move and crane shift represents a precise operational calculation. Our objective is to trace the exact causal links between those daily physical supply chain operations and the final business outcomes they claim to support. This raises a structural tension in management. Before a company ever records a financial return on its balance sheet, what exactly is the supply chain manager expected to produce? A pervasive misconception in professional management assumes that supply chain operations spontaneously generate profit, revenue, or EBITDA. By definition, supply chain actions cannot bypass operational reality to directly manipulate financial statements. Moving a pallet does not print money, it simply changes an inventory position. To accurately evaluate performance, we have to look at the mandatory intermediate step where the actual work occurs, the middle layer. We define this middle layer formally as the operational causal chain. This horizontal flowchart maps that exact sequence. We begin on the left with supply chain actions. Those actions produce operational outputs, highlighted here in navy blue. Those outputs generate performance outcomes, which finally translate into financial results. Precisely defining box B, the operational outputs, provides the only objective standard to audit a supply chain's actual performance. Without defining this middle layer of verifiable deliverables, any claimed link between a logistics decision and a financial result remains entirely circumstantial. We can formally define an operational output as a tangible, reviewable, and auditable deliverable. The foundational principle here is that supply chain systems enable market outcomes. They do not own them entirely. They build the physical and informational stability that the wider business monetizes. To map these deliverables from end to end, we use a mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive, or MISI, 5-layer framework. This table breaks down the framework, starting with Layer 1, Strategy and Design. As you can see in the right column, the deliverables here include network design blueprints, sourcing and footprint decisions, and segmentation logic. The actions taken in this phase involve broad structural calculations, such as mapping sourcing strategies and executing make versus buy decision models. Those theoretical actions translate directly into explicit physical network blueprints and product customer segmentation rules. The defining characteristic of Layer 1 outputs is that they dictate the parameters and policies for how the entire supply chain is supposed to function. These strategy and design outputs serve as the architectural blueprints. Without them, any subsequent physical execution is merely unstructured effort. Moving down the table, a second row addresses planning. Below that, a third row maps execution. Planning actions focus on aligning resources with requirements through demand, capacity, and inventory modeling. A common academic error treats these plans as statistical forecasts. In practice, a direct output at this layer is an approved plan, an explicit organizational commitment to allocate capital and time. The specific deliverables include approved sales and operations planning decision logs, rigid time fences, and defined node-level inventory targets. Once commitments are finalized, operations move downward to Layer 3, execution actions. Execution involves the actual procurement, transportation across the network, and final order fulfillment. The outputs of Layer 3 are uncompromisingly rigorous. They must be empirical, verifiable facts, completely devoid of subjective opinion or management narrative. We look for empirical deliverables, confirmed purchase orders, executed physical shipments, and continuously updated transactional inventory data across the system. Layer 2 commits the organization to a specific future state, and Layer 3 translates those exact commitments into undeniable physical and informational realities. As the framework completes, Row 4 introduces control, and Row 5 establishes performance management. The primary purpose of the control layer is to actively protect the designed system from inevitable external variability and market disruptions. Actions here require constant calibration, including exception management, rapid replanning, and cross-functional alignment. The resulting outputs of Layer 4 take the form of documented exception logs, formulated recovery plans, and updated supply allocations. Finally, we reach the concluding stratum, Layer 5, performance management actions. Here, the focus shifts away from managing physical flows and toward generating high-level systemic visibility through root cause analysis and continuous improvement cycles. Deliverables in Layer 5 include standardized KPI dashboards, tracking metrics like on-time and full rates, variance analyses, and structural improvement roadmaps. While control actions stabilize the system in the present moment, performance management outputs generate the visibility required to optimize the entire system for the future. To effectively audit a supply chain operation, all outputs generated across this 5-layer framework must be classified into one of 2 analytical categories. As shown in this table, the first category is tangible deliverables. Tangible deliverables are the physical or digital artifacts that an auditor or executive can explicitly ask to see and review. Key examples include the documented strategy blueprints, defined policy rules, populated KPI dashboards, and historical decision logs. The second, far more complex category is system-level deliverables. These are not static artifacts. System-level deliverables are sustained operational states, maintained exclusively through rigorous daily management discipline. States like a stable cadence, predictable lead times, tightly controlled variability, and reliable network data visibility. True supply chain excellence requires producing the tangible artifacts to direct the work and maintaining the stable system states to execute it. Both are mandatory prerequisites for market-facing success. A persistent challenge in the real world is the tendency to evaluate supply chain managers strictly based on their proximity to high-level financial metrics. This slide identifies metrics inherently disqualified as direct deliverables. As noted, profit, revenue, market share, and customer satisfaction are outcomes, not direct outputs. These metrics are downstream outcomes. They require comprehensive cross-departmental collaboration, relying heavily on sales, marketing, and pricing strategies, rather than isolated supply chain outputs. This comparison illustrates the issue. At the top is a technically flawed, weak managerial claim. We improved EBITDA by 2%. The bottom text offers a strong, execution-focused answer. It clearly articulates the exact operational outputs produced, such as redesigned networks and stabilized plans, which then enabled the financial gain. Detailing the reduction of lead time variability and the redesign of inventory policies successfully proves actual management discipline, isolating what the supply chain controlled from broader market forces. Based on this framework, the role requires 4 fundamental responsibilities: designing resilient systems, committing to explicit plans, ensuring reliable physical flows, and controlling variability. Rigorous operational truth and tangible outputs must be constructed, verified, and stabilized before financial value ever materializes on a company's balance sheet.